When a system fails or a market crashes, most people respond with a flurry of panic and rapid, messy decisions. But in many crises, there is one person who remains silent. They aren't reacting to the noise. They are calculating variables. This is the archetype of the Enneagram Type 5, the observer. They possess an unrivaled ability to slice through complex problems with logic and self-sufficiency. Yet, that same detachment often leaves their colleagues and loved ones feeling like they are trying to connect with someone behind a two-way mirror. It is a puzzling social strategy. The observer spends their life gathering data about the world, yet they often want as little as possible to do with the actual people living in it. This distance is rooted in the scarcity principle. A Type 5 operates on the assumption that their time, energy, and emotions are strictly non-renewable resources. To them, every social interaction is a withdrawal from an internal battery they believe will never refill. Their personality functions as a protective vault. Every wall they build is a calculated attempt to stop the drain before reserves hit zero. Survival for the Type 5 depends on unplugging. They deliberately step away from the excitement and emotional weight of daily life to conserve what little bandwidth they feel they have left. Their primary psychological defense is isolation. This involves withdrawing into a private physical space and retreating into the mental safety of their own thoughts. They manage this retreat through compartmentalization. Friends, family, and work are locked in separate vaults. By keeping these disconnected, the Type 5 ensures a demand in one area doesn't deplete energy in another. This extreme budgeting yields unrivaled focus. Stripping away emotional noise, they channel their saved energy into a single beam of attention, mastering subjects others find overwhelming. In a crisis, this mechanical approach becomes their greatest asset. Because they refuse to expend energy on panic, they remain objective and functional, while others are paralyzed by the stakes. This emotional efficiency allows them to operate with a clarity that few can match. What appears to be coldness is the machinery of a mind that has prioritized logic over the drain of a reaction. But when the fear of depletion becomes an obsession, the vault becomes a prison. The very strategy that protects their energy starts to starve their life. At low levels of mastery, the Type 5 descends into a state of extreme withholding. They hoard their time and knowledge, treating every shared thought as a resource they can't afford to lose. Relationships suffer as they become intensely guarded. They view the needs of others with skepticism, fearing that any emotional vulnerability will leave them completely empty. This creates a unique intellectual flaw, the fear of incompetence. They begin to gather data not to solve problems, but as a shield. They convince themselves that they are never quite prepared enough to step out into the world. This leads to a chronic information bottleneck. They spend so much time analyzing and overthinking every possible variable that they become unable to make a single concrete decision. The unhealthy observer achieves their goal of total self-sufficiency, but they do so in a vacuum. Their defense mechanism works so well that it successfully disconnects them from the very sources of life that could sustain them. Growth for the Type 5 begins by dismantling the scarcity mindset. They have to realize that sharing their inner world doesn't empty their reserves. It validates the knowledge they've worked so hard to collect. This requires moving towards action. Instead of waiting for a perfect dataset, they must learn to assert themselves and act on their insights in real time, even when the situation feels uncertain. They also need to practice engagement for its own sake. This means stepping away from the data to experience the spontaneity of life, interacting with others not to study them, but to enjoy them. Intellectual maturity arrives when the observer realizes that information is static until it is shared. Their research only finds its true value when it is used to impact the world around them. A Type 5 at high mastery is no longer a hoarder of information. They become generous visionaries who are integrated with the world rather than detached from it. They use their vast intellectual resources to actively empower others. By remaining emotionally present, they transform from isolated experts into confident leaders who can be counted on during the crisis. They find a steady internal balance between the data they know and the mysteries they don't. They no longer feel the need to solve every unknown before they can participate in life. This shift changes the fundamental math of their energy. When a Type 5 uses their knowledge to help others, the interaction stops being a drain. It becomes a generative cycle, where contribution provides the sense of purpose and security they previously tried to find in isolation. For the observer, the path to self-mastery is realizing that their energy is not a fixed pool to be guarded. It is a current that only stays strong when it is allowed to flow.